What's going on, Joey? I'm feeling really good today. I'm feeling good about being back in the studio, and
Yes.
just talking through some things. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. How you feeling?
Well, it's been a minute since we were here, and I'm excited to be here. I'm happy about my shirt, Gravy Train. I love this typeface on this shirt. I didn't design it. I wish I did. So I'm feeling good. Yeah, it's a chill day, and I think a good topic to get into. To talk about. Well, I'll let you tell everyone what we're talking about.
Well, yes. So we're going to be talking about a lot, but I'll acknowledge the shirt. I do like the shirt, and I shop sometimes to help me relieve stress, and that's the topic of today. No, I've been just thinking a lot more lately about stress, how I handle stress, how do we process stress, being in the creative industry where stress is so prevalent, and it
Mhm.
really does impact our work. And it just made me think about how we can offer some value to our viewers and listeners on how we deal with stress, and how you as an individual, no matter where you are, can process stress and ultimately lead you to a much more calm and better creative. So I think we
Mhm.
should talk a bit about it. I think we should
Yeah.
unpack a little bit about what are some ways we think individuals can deal with stress in the workplace.
Yeah. It is a huge thing, Corey. I think you're right, and I know for me, I'll think about when I even started as a designer, but certainly in a creative leadership role, I've sort of equated stress and drive, grind, whatever you describe it as part of the job. It's just you have to look and feel busy. It has to feel intense
Yeah.
because that means it's alive. That means you're really working. And so I think that's definitely has been my experience, and in some cases that has been self-manufactured or at least amplified by me, right?
Yeah.
I'm receiving things around me that might be starting that, and then I take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so let's jump into 2 points. So I'll start, Corey, with the first one, to give our viewers just some ideas of what has worked for us. So the first point is to stay calm, and this may sound completely ridiculous because it's obvious, and many people say, "Don't tell me to stay calm because then it makes me less calm," and I understand that, but I'm talking about within you. So one of the things that I know that I have experienced myself, having worked in many kinds of work environments and many kinds of projects. Corey, if you think about
Yeah.
projects we work on, they all are flavored by different clients with different expectations. And all the cultures of those organizations, along with ours, start to seep into our workflow and our work life. And so what I started realizing a couple of years ago is because I was having some crazy panic attacks before certain pitches, and I was just realizing the
Yeah.
stress was through the roof. I was internalizing it in a very negative way, and I realized the only thing I can control here is what I do. I can control me coming into this room and how I carry myself. Granted, it would be great if everything around me starts to shift, but I can control me. And I can say for sure, Corey, that I have changed that view. And it
Yeah.
wasn't overnight. And sometimes I still go back to the old way of being driven and high strung, and I'm holding my breath, and I'm very aware of the pressure of a project. But it's more rare these days because I often do breathing exercises before I go into a client presentation. I try to stay calm and focused because I know, having
Yeah.
tried this, and I'm encouraging, if you're today watching and you're like me and you're like, no, the grind is good, I like to be stressed, I like to feel that energy, try some calmness, try taking a breath, maybe even doing a meditation before you start your day. And because I was not a believer, and now I
Oh no.
am, because I am such a better creative leader. I'm better at presenting things when I'm calm,
Yes.
talking about something. I feel calm right now talking to you on this video, and I can think more clearly. I feel more creative. I laugh more. I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
a more pleasant person to be around. And so, Corey, I could talk at length about that, but I think it's the intention of stopping and doing whatever you need to do to get yourself centered and
Yes.
stop the chaos in your mind and clear it, and then open your eyes again and then be focused on that one thing you're doing. I think it's going to be groundbreaking for you, for everyone watching. It was for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a great point to make. That you know, a big part of reducing stress in your life is really getting to that calm state, getting to that
Mhm.
peacefulness. Because, like Joey mentioned, with calmness comes clarity, and I've noticed that I'm at my best when I'm sort of free of all these sort of variables, and a lot of those variables that produce stress are things that I put on myself. It's a lot of the weight I put on myself. But you just have to approach the work with a very clear mindset and realize that some of those things that you're stressed about are really those things that you're creating on yourself, like the perfection idea that it has to be perfect and all these other variables. But the reality is the work, the stakes aren't as high as you think they are. And so I've some of the things I've done to sort of get to this calm state is just like writing down more things, like writing down how I'm feeling in the moment. You talked about a pitch, and that's that's actually something that, for as you grow into leadership, people are really stressed out about pitching. Um, and you have to sort of change your mindset, and this will ultimately lead to being more calm. Is if you change your mindset about what the pitch is, the stakes aren't that high. Yes, of course, as a business, you want to bring in more money. But if you look at those pitches as conversations where you're getting to know them, because not only are you, they're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. You're developing a relationship with them in which you're going to work together to solve a big problem or goal. So I approach those very conversational. And then I talk about things that I'm passionate about because that comes through. And I found that just changing my mindset about this whole ugly word of sales, because it's not a bad thing, it's just all about your mindset and how you approach, that made me much more calm. And so it made me also think about that stress, even something as simple as a pitch was causing unnecessary stress. So it made me think about all the other things in my life that were producing stress. And so calmness is a huge one. But that leads into another point about that we what we talked a lot about was this idea of setting boundaries. So you have calmness on one side and all those different things, and it's really just a mindset shift. But the other side of it is setting boundaries and really becoming more self-aware and knowing what you need to be successful. And so thinking about when are you at your best. So another one practical boundary is knowing when to turn off and when to turn on. And I think that coming from, you mentioned this a little bit, Joey, is this idea of this hustle and grind culture where you're always on, and it really puts yourself in an unhealthy situation, and there's no boundaries. And when you're always on, that's producing a lot of stress for you as an individual. So you have to know when to
Hmm.
turn off. And I think there's a lot of ways you can do that. Set some boundaries for yourself by like saying, I'm going to be working at this set time. Maybe it's you realize that you're the most creative in the mornings, so try to stack your calendar and try to work on your most creative things at that time. And then knowing that you sort of trail off later in the day, so that's one boundary that you can set. And you can even do that with your employees. You can say, hey, um, you know, my schedule, it has been pretty busy, and I realize that I'm much more productive at this time. And it's just having a conversation, just like we talked about with the pitch. Sometimes talking to the other members you're working with and setting some boundaries and agreements between each other, it's a mutual thing. Like, hey, I feel like I can get this done a lot faster if I could work on it at this time. And just saying, doing something like that is really helpful in being able to deliver. And I know we've talked a lot about this. I don't know if you have any clear tips around boundaries that have worked for you,
Hmm.
Joey, but I think that's another tip that I've always used is boundaries.
Yeah, I love it. I love the framing of of calmness, because that's how you start
Yeah,
getting yourself centered, and then the boundaries start to kind of create this fence, or this kind of this, not a wall but a fence around you, so that you're
yeah,
creating some parameters and some rules, if you will, or some, you're creating a space for yourself to be calm and to bring yourself. But yeah, I know for sure with boundaries that I started to have to set my own, uh, even in addition to those that you just described, setting boundaries with team members, which I think is a big thing. And I know every agency that you work in an agency in house, I know every culture is different, and some cultures just respect boundaries more than others, and we understand that. But you can set them in a way that people will respect, and there's a way to communicate that, and just be honest about why you need them. But also, Corey, setting boundaries with your own ideation time and your own creative time. So I know that I and we talk about this in other videos and content that we create about perfectionism. I know that I struggle with that. And so I tend to spend too much time grinding on my own leading up to a deadline. And so I'm not setting boundaries for myself. I'll spill into sleep time. I'll get
Yeah.
up extremely early. I'm sleeping way less, before a big presentation. I'm grinding for hours. I'm at the point of obsessing because I'm doing it too long and there's too much of a window of time. So for me, the boundaries is within myself also, to say, I'm going to work on this for 1 more hour, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to get dinner. It's due tomorrow. I'm going to get dinner and I'm going to do whatever. And then I'm going to pick it back up from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I set a boundary and then I stop. Or I'm better in the morning. So I might be
Oh yeah.
more, I'm getting up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to work from 6 until 8. And that is the window of time. And the thing has to be done by 8 o'clock. So those are boundaries that I've created for
Well,
myself. And that
yeah.
works pretty well for me.
Absolutely. That also made me think I almost missed a big point about like, taking much more control over your time and calendar. And you mentioned it is like setting those boundaries, but I think it might sound silly, but one of the things I've done is I've planned out my entire calendar and I put everything on the calendar like such as here's a perfect example. I'm going to look at inspiration in the morning and I'm going to do it every morning, just make it a part of my routine. And I put it on the calendar and people see it, inspiration time. And it, it might seem silly at first, but I realized that I had to sort of take control of my time because, like Joey mentioned a while back, he was going through a situation where he was feeling a lot more stress. And I had a similar situation where my health have forced me to sort of re-engineer the way I approach the work. I realized I couldn't approach things with the same mindset and it's always on because I wasn't handling the stress well. So I was able to set better boundaries for myself by going back and really organize my day, my calendar, and I structured it out. Like when am I going to be working? I paid a lot of attention to when my peak times were. I talked about when I'm most inspired in the morning. So I would focus my energy on doing work in that time. And I set those windows and I made it very clear that, hey, these are the times that I'm going to be online. These are the times that I'm going to be checking Slack and email. And I make it a dialogue, I make it a conversation between those I'm working with. But yeah, just really taking control of your calendar will help. And you have to get in the habit of really taking good notes about what you need to do and what you need to achieve within a day because a lot of times we as a creatives we have to generate a lot of ideas and we have a lot of projects and sometimes you can't control the amount of projects you have. We realize that many of you can't actually control some of these variables that can produce stress, but we do know within that you can develop better habits that allow you to manage it a lot. And it's really about stress management because we know stress is a normal part of the human response to pressure in different situations. So it's about knowing your body, knowing yourself, and how to develop a better routine to manage that stress. And this idea of calmness with boundary settings are what we think will ultimately lead to you becoming a better manager of your own life and stress. But ultimately it will make you a better designer and a better creative because with that calmness and structure comes clarity. And so we just want to make sure that we're offering tips that you can use today right now to change your mindset and change the way you approach the work because we do want you to become better creatives. But healthy creatives are a really important factor in being a successful creative. And so we urge you to take these things seriously, try them out, and let us know. Let us know if we missed something. And I don't know if there's any closing points you want to add, but I do think that we should make the point that we are available. We're looking at those comments, and we do want to know how we can help. And let us know what you're stressed about.
Definitely, Corey. Absolutely. And just as we leave everyone, I will say that you mentioned this, and I'll reiterate the point that you are going to put out your best work, and I believe you're going to be happier and more creative, and you're going to attract a great energy when you're not projecting stress to other people. Trust me, I've done it both
Oh yeah.
ways, and I think it's way better this way. So yeah, we'll leave you with those thoughts, but we would love to hear your views in the comments, and we would love to make this a dialogue. So thanks so much for joining us in this episode about stress.
All right. Thank you.